Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
I'm going to go with the Beatles one, but you guys didn't say goodbye to me, so I'm going to say, I don't know. Hello, hello, I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. That was good! I didn't know where you were going, and I don't know where I was going either.
That was great.
Welcome back to everybody. We are here saying hello to you. What do you guys have been up to?
A new season of the podcast. Back, the gang's back together.
Yeah.
Missed you guys.
Missed you too.
Miss you too.
See you all the time, but it's different when we're all together and recording an episode.
Yeah.
Different energy in the room when we get together, so it's good.
It definitely is. We're now after the bell, so there shouldn't be a bell interruption. Maybe later in the episode, but not right now.
Yeah, I think we timed it okay to start.
Right. There's been a lot going on that we've all been a part of, so I figured we would start off with that.
Yeah, outside of the podcast, right?
Yeah, outside.
Our day jobs, if you will.
Our day jobs.
I don't even know what you're talking about. No.
So the first thing that's on my mind to talk about is all of this buzz about AI, which I know we have another episode.
So much AI right now.
Right. So we won't get too much into it, but lots of buzzwords.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're on a committee together.
We are the AI committee. One of a couple. But you're on the other one too.
Which committee?
So the Kidoyo one, there's
Oh,
one
yes,
for
yes,
Kidoyo.
yes. Right.
And then there's one internal one for guidelines and best practices.
Correct. So there's like a pilot. We're piloting something, and then we're also trying to come up with some guidelines to help people utilize AI.
Which I'm excited about. I think the committee's doing a lot of good work in trying to, steer us in the right direction.
Yeah.
We have a lot of teachers from all over the district. Elementary teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers, special areas that are on the committee, so many different perspectives.
Do you feel like it's the great equalizer, AI? It brings everybody together.
Yeah. And what's cool about it is a lot of people didn't really, or haven't been exposed to AI much. Don't really use it because, especially phys ed, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think they're seeing a way that they can utilize it for administrative tasks.
Something for everybody.
Yeah. Hey, you.
Oh, hey. I know, my go-to.
Are you using AI over there?
I do sometimes in my personal life.
Nice.
I think I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Workout plans, meal prep, ideas,
Cool.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes here at work, but not all the time. I'm not heavily relying on it. I don't want to become robotic.
Yeah. No robots here.
Job
no
security.
robots.
Yeah. One thing I could talk about that's one of the big things that I've been working on that is like the recent Google changes, the additional services, which has impacted the whole district, and it's affected not just specifically Connecticut, but across pretty much the state and the country with Google's additional services. How certain services now are outside of those parameters of what we allow.
So there's there's two that teachers are feeling, right?
Yeah.
Big
So one is Google Translate, which I know that's one, and the other being YouTube.
Okay, but is it bad really that YouTube is blocked?
Listen, I almost wish it was this way from the beginning. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like. So I'll just say it's not like teachers don't have the access to this. It's
right.
more the students now. You guys can speak to this probably more, but in my mind, the way I view it, it's like a little bit of a shift in mindset or direction of like how it's used. It's probably better off with the YouTube scenario because we don't have the Wild West. Yes, we did have filtering, in place. Only certain YouTube categories were allowed. We had approval videos, things like that for students. But it could have gotten a little hairy at times, and people were viewing things that maybe on YouTube they weren't. So this kind of tailors that back a little bit.
Well, I don't even know that it was the types of things that kids were looking at YouTube. It's just when. I think they were just not being appropriate with their timing of it. They were looking at that when they were supposed to be working.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of teachers are not mad about it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And they still have access, if you're using Google Slides and a teacher puts it in a Google Slide, or if you're putting it into a Nearpod lesson, kids can still view the video that you're sending out. They just can't go on YouTube.com.
Right, and do a random search for themselves.
Right.
Sure. So that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
It is. I think so. Maybe not so much for high school research classes.
Yeah, that could be
or
rough.
broadcast journalism, things of that nature.
Right.
But I think for the most part, for the majority, I think it's it's going to benefit everyone.
Yeah.
True.
So speaking of some changes, we have a special guest for this episode. Scott Halford is joining us. He has a new title, and he's going to tell you all about it. So take it away, Scott.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Halford. Mr. Halford. That is
So
me.
formal.
Yes, very formal.
And Scott has been in the district for a lot of years. How many years now?
I've been here 10 years now.
Yeah, 10 years. And I'm going to actually pass the non-existent microphone, because the microphone's on the stand, to Scott, just to give everyone a little backstory of him and his role here. It's a little different. If you heard his last episode, which was maybe a couple of
maybe like 2 years
cohorts
ago?
cohorts ago, he had a different role. So we'll talk about that change a little bit too.
I think we named that episode, didn't we? Like, Call Me Maybe or something?
Yeah.
We're
talking about
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. So I've been at Connecticut now for a little bit over 10 years. I started my IT tenure in school districts at Patchogue Medford as a Network and System Specialist 1. Our coworker, Victor Zambrana, really kind of brought me up in this, educational environment. Beforehand, I was a finish carpenter, which a lot of people are surprised about when they hear about me. The biggest joke was when I first started my first school district gig was we're going to have Scott build all the data cabinets, because I was very hands-on. But it was more about, with the district, it was more about me being a fit, and I learned, at school districts, it's not all about what you know and how you more fit in. So about 10 years ago, I accepted a position here at Connecticut as the Network and System Specialist 2. Just a little bit of a step up in my role from Pat Med. I brought a lot of the ideas that we developed over at Pat Med here to Connecticut. And then from there, it was all history. In 2019, I had a desk audit, went to the Network and Systems admin position for my involvement with the phone system, which was our last podcast where we talked about going from the old phone system, our POTS line. That's like the old dial telephone with the dial tone, to more of an IP base that's hooked into our computer system now. The teachers will recognize the IP phones in their classrooms. And just fast forward through the pandemic, we had some shifts in our structure in our department. One of our coworkers was out for a little bit of time, gave me the opportunity to step up into more of an administrative role at that point. I was still a network administrator, but fast forward a little bit further. A few months ago, I was given the opportunity to step into the coordinator role, which is more of an administrative role, more of an oversight, day-to-day, managing the staff and ordering and budgetary responsibilities in the department. Still have technical responsibilities, but it's a little bit of the background about me.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, what is the main difference between Networks and Systems admin and the coordinator? So what are some new responsibilities that you have compared to what you used to do?
So there can be there's a fine line between the two, because civil service considers them both administrative titles. The way that I like to look at it is the network administrator is more focused on the technology itself, maybe our servers, our phone system, our Valcom PA system, and the interconnectivity between all of those. And the coordinator is more the person coordinating between departments, teachers, other administrators, putting all the pieces together for the technology. With that also being said, also having the back-end experience of the technical lingo, I guess you could say, to make sure that everything is getting put together and delivered as expected to our end users, which are our students and our teachers and our faculty.
Yeah, I can speak firsthand about that and how Scott has done that before his actual title switch. We went on a site visit to West Islip, and we wanted to see their production staff and team and things that they were doing over there. And immediately it was kind of like, okay, I understand the instructional side, but we have an announcement. Let's pause. And that was a false alarm. It dinged and then it donged, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, what was nice about that was having a person to speak about for the IT portion of things. So I can only do so much as a visionary on the instructional side of things. I can say this is neat, this makes connections to curriculum and all of that, but when it comes to the IT end of things, whether it's wiring, equipment, all of that, that's where I looked to Scott and I was like, well, how can we do this with what we have, so to speak? And that's where I guess, like our coordinator comes into play. Like, is this actually feasible? Is this something that we can bring here? Not every school district is the same, has the same, infrastructure and things like that. So it's really nice to have that coordinator hands-on and being able to go throughout the district and make the instructional vision come to life.
All right, so obviously, Scott, working alongside you for many years, what would you say is like a challenge, I guess, in the new role that you deal with?
Well, there are a few. So I think well, I'll start first is when I first started out with doing IT in school districts, I thought it would be so cool to have an administrative role, a director role. And I think people don't realize until they actually sit in that administrative seat of how difficult it could be at times. And I'm as guilty as it could be as being the Monday morning quarterback and being like, I would have done it this way, I would have did it that way. But there are a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't realize, like our procurement process of equipment. We either go direct purchase or through BOCES. And BOCES has their entire process to get things done. And there's state aid and E-rate and stuff we get back from BOCES, which is beneficial to the district. But ordering through BOCES, it's just another part, like it's another step in the process, which could extend the period of time where maybe we do a direct purchase, which takes 2 to 3 weeks to get the equipment. It could take 2 to 3 months in order to get equipment. Sometimes big purchases are very hard to get because we need to either get a capital project or some kind of bigger funding because our budgets are very finite. We can only increase a certain amount each year because the taxpayers only have a certain increase for their taxes. So I think another very challenging piece is not just the procurement process, but it's the management of the people, personalities, and knowing everyone's strengths and weaknesses. And I feel like myself, like I know people's strengths and weaknesses, and I know at times I hear things from maybe some background talk and saying, hey, so and so should be doing this and so should be doing that. But I'm also a firm believer that there's some people that can do maybe more physical stuff, and there's some people that are better behind maybe the computer and they're better at spreadsheets and they're more efficient at that. They're more attention to detail, and you may have someone kind of going back to the carpenter like analogy. Like you have your rough carpenters, like your framers, and you have a finished carpenter who would be doing your kitchen. You don't really want to mix and match those two trades together, although sometimes they do cross. Some people are just better fit for one trade or the other. So it's a lot. It's a lot of trying to navigate that in the coordinator role. And I think for just the listeners out there, and I've heard from some teachers, hey, can't you just go to Best Buy and pick up that webcam or like that keyboard and mouse? Through in school districts and with public funding, it's a little bit more difficult because everything has to be done through a contract or a bid, and it has to be done the correct way, so that we know that everything's being played fair by all sides.
I think part of this is just recognizing that not everything is in our control, right? In education, no matter whether you're behind the scenes in IT, you're a building tech where it's kind of back and forth, where you're on the ground fixing issues, or at your desk rostering ClassLink, right? In the classroom as teachers, not everything is in your control. You walk in one day and maybe your smartboard's not going to work, right? There's always a process with that. So I think as teachers, we can really resonate in knowing, I think sometimes we say, hey, like, where are the Chromebooks? We heard the Chromebooks are coming. Oh, I need this, I need that. But we have to really take a step back and know that even in our teaching, it's the same way, that we don't have a full control of what's going on during each class period. We can have an expectation, but we can't actually know, like, how the kids are going to behave for a certain lesson. And I think we all have to go back to that way of thinking.
Absolutely. I feel like your role now is a little bit more behind the scenes. So I was just curious and wondering, what are some of the opportunities that you have to interact with the teachers, and what are some scenarios where they might be dealing with you, or are you mostly behind the scenes at this point?
So the last time I was able to interact, which was kind of cool, was during Christmas time. So we went down to Idle Hour with Liz Weiss, our director, and we were going to evaluate smartboard locations. And I actually got to go back into the classroom and see the kids, like, they were doing stuff with construction paper and making all different kinds of snowmen and Santa Claus and whatever else they were doing. But I would say actually over the last even 5 years, even after before my role has changed, I wasn't out in the buildings as much. I haven't been in the building in 6 years now, so like I'm not as forward facing as I used to be. To be honest with you, I sometimes I like it. I do very well behind the computer, and I'm very good at managing things there. I like to delegate work. I'm not really the person like on scene all the time. It's just with the size of our staff, it's just a little bit easier to get more work done. When we delegate out there. I know sometimes everybody wants me to be in multiple places at once, but it's almost close to impossible to do that. So, yeah.
That's fair.
Do you want to maybe touch on some recent projects that you've maybe worked on at all that you want to share with anybody?
Yeah. So the biggest project that we worked on, everyone here has been affected by it, was our mass notification project, our Valcom system. We recently tied in, and all the teachers know, our emergency system into our lockdown system. So now when we call a lockdown in any building or lockout, the Valcom clocks will sound an audible of the lockdown, lockout, and notify everybody. That was a pretty big project that we worked on over the last, I would say, almost year and a half. We've been working on stuff with notifications from the mass notification system. That's kind of behind the scenes with administrative employees. They're getting notifications now when we dial 911 or if a lockdown gets triggered. Before, that was only really security that was getting those notifications through our security system. But now it's more on, we have more groups set up that we can do that. Projects. Windows 11 PCs was really big. I know teachers were affected by that for the last 2 years. We're just about wrapped up, finishing here at the high school. We have a few labs left. That was a huge overhaul, and it was kind of unexpected that Windows 10 was going to become end of life so quickly, and we had to upgrade to Windows 11, and our machines that we had weren't compatible with it, so we had to find funding. Again, going back to trying to find money and procurement and ordering those PCs. That's really it. We just what projects do we have going on? I'm trying to think.
There's always stuff going on.
There's always
off the top of my head right now. I'm trying to think of
Anything in the
right?
future that you can tease?
And I was just going to ask that too.
So future, this we're looking. I know our switch infrastructure is in need of an upgrade. Currently, we are working with the district and our budgeting to try to figure out what buildings we're going to be upgrading this summer. That is a pretty big upgrade. I know the teachers aren't going to be really affected because be home on the beach. Well,
some of them are here.
Some are here. Yes, I know. The Switch project coming up in the summer is a pretty big one.
And is that what Matt's working on?
Those are access points.
No.
I was
going to say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow, how'd that totally fall off my radar? Oh yeah, we're replacing all of the access points district wide.
Okay.
With newer, longer range access points for better connectivity for our Chromebooks.
We're actually a little teaser for the next episode.
Yes.
We will have Matt on the next episode.
Matt has been avoiding us like the plague, but
Yeah,
we
but we
finally got
got
him
him-
to agree to come on and talk.
Listen, he's hard to get on here. He's got he's got all these access points. He's got work going. He's got a lot of work going on. Hard worker.
He's a little celebrity around the high school, though.
He is a celebrity.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking about your new role and everything that you've been doing here. I think the biggest thing that I got out of this conversation is I think more of a vision of what the new role does and recognizing that we don't have full control of everything that goes on. So thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll talk to you soon.